Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for our cash tag segment, so let's bring in our next guest. That's going to be Megan Brantley, Vice President of Research at LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Megan.
Thanks for having me again, guys.
All right, so we're talking earnings. General Mills reports tomorrow morning. I was looking at this stock. It hit an all-time high just back in May, and it's just been on a downturn. What kind of data do you guys have out of LikeFolio? Because it seems like they're seeing some price pressures, but maybe, inflationary pressures. What kind of data do you guys have?
Yeah, I love that we're talking about General Mills today, because last time I was in Target, I saw the, Count Chocula, Boo Berry, and Monster Mash cereals all on the end caps. And this is really, I think, what General Mills is most known for, but it really has a wide portfolio, right? It's got, those cereals, the Cheerios that you think about, but it also has some, baking staples if you think of like Bisquick, if you think of snacks like Bugles. And then it's also now got a pet food segment, and really that's driven by the Blue Buffalo brand. And so there's a lot to break down in our data when we look at General Mills. And what we see, I think, is not necessarily surprising. Whenever we're looking at the largest brands, so the mentions that are getting the greatest amount of volume, you think about Cheerios, these cereal brands, it's Betty Crocker brand, and then also Blue Buffalo. And we do see a little bit of shifting, especially in its Blue Buffalo, which is a premium brand. And this chart here, I think, is really significant because you can see the bar on the right in these pairs. So it looks almost like the brighter blue bar, the darker blue bar. That is the growth in premium pet food versus non-premium. And you can see a shift that occurs at the end of 2021 or 2022 where we're starting to see signs of consumers who are trading down. And so this could potentially be a negative, headwind for Blue Buffalo that's operating as this premium brand. When we look at this on a brand level, we have Blue Buffalo buzz and demand up by about 2% year over year. So not horrible, but not the growth that we were seeing, especially after the pandemic, when we saw so many consumers who were, buying a new pet that all of a sudden they had another mouth to feed. But I think that, long term, this is still a brand with really high happiness. And I think it's smart of General Mills to diversify its revenue streams and really lean into this pet segment, especially as pets become more humanized, as part of our family. But just near term, we are starting to see a softening in that growth as consumers' wallets get pinched a bit.
Oh, gee, my turn. Sorry, Megan. So I was watching. I was thinking about Chex Mix, Megan. That's what distracted me because, I looked at this company and, it looks like they've just been squeezed on their margins, right? I mean, their organic sales up 10%, but their gross margins down 110 basis points. This is just one of those companies going through what they've been through many times in their 100-plus year history, which is higher prices. They make a little less money. They know the game plan going into this. They just raised the dividend an enormous amount. Now their dividend is almost 3.6%. Not that that's guaranteed, of course, as you know. But Megan, isn't this just one of those situations where inflation will eventually dissipate? This company that has massive popular products will simply just hunker down, get through this, and this is probably a good opportunity to look at a name like this.
It definitely could be, especially if you're looking at a really, long-term horizon in a name like this. We're talking about serious consumer staples. I mean, Cheerios, it doesn't get much more classic than that. I think that the company's also doing a good job of leaning into some consumer trends. When we look at the brands that are kind of popping, at least in terms of our positive consumer sentiment, you think about it's Annie's brand, which is like healthier versions of box mac and cheese and box things, like, if you will. And you think about Lara Bar and you think about Nature Valley. So it has things other than just Cheerios that consumers are really latching on to. And I think the pet food segment, as I mentioned before, that's another really important area. Whenever we look at, mentions as a whole, we see some softness in General Mills. So we're not necessarily surprised by this decline. I think mentions overall are down by about 6% year over year. But if you look at that, the stock has fallen by much more. So this isn't a scenario where, we're bearish. This is just something where we're seeing a slowdown in some of this growth, and it could be a good opportunity for long-term investors for sure.
Megan, when you look at happiness levels compared to its competitors, do you guys have any data on that? Because it seems like the wide array of products that they have, I get that maybe you're seeing a pullback in some of the premium brands due to inflationary pressures from the consumer. But happiness levels, are they comparable to some of their competitors with all these brands they have?
Yeah, so one company that we like to look at in comparison to General Mills is Kellogg. And just from a mention perspective, I mentioned that General Mills mentions had dropped by 6%. Well, Kellogg's mentions have dropped by about 36% year over year. So they're definitely, outperforming peers in terms of overall consumer buzz. But then whenever we look at those happiness levels, they're outperforming there as well. So General Mills happiness is around 69% positive. I think Kellogg's is around 67% positive. So 2-point difference, not massive, but General Mills is definitely on top, and part of that, like you said, is because of its diverse array of portfolios. We see a lot of people who are really excited about the healthy foods, but we also see a lot of people who are really excited about their Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, that's right. And Golden
Frosted
Grahams.
Mini Wheats.
You did mention Chex Mix, dear.
I love Chex Mix.
I do too.
I'm a big, and Nature Valley. Who doesn't like the granola bars from Nature Valley?
That's
Come
old.
on.
That's old school Nature Valley right there. All right, great stuff. Great day as always, Megan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Megan Brantley, Vice President of Research at LikeFolio, breaking down the consumer sentiment data here on General Mills. Kevin, you look at the right side of that